The first thing Daniel Mercer noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind that settles over water at dusk, but the heavy, abandoned silence of something forgotten. The lake lay stretched out before him like a sheet of dull metal under a winter sky, cold and unwelcoming. The small house at its edge leaned slightly to one side, its roof sagging as if exhausted from holding secrets too long. Frost clung to the brittle grass. The wind moved like a whisper through the reeds. And for a moment, Daniel wondered if inheriting this place was not a blessing, but a burden meant to break him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles hidden in broken places, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this remind us that even the most unwanted things can hold the greatest treasures. Daniel had survived things most men only see in nightmares. As a Navy SEAL, he had faced gunfire, darkness, and decisions that weighed heavier than any pack he had ever carried. But none of that prepared him for the loneliness that followed when he returned home for good. The military had given him structure, purpose, brotherhood. After his discharge, life felt unsteady. His wife had passed away from an illness while he was deployed, and grief settled into his bones like winter frost. All he had left was his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, and his retired military working dog, Rex, a German shepherd with intelligent eyes and a loyalty that bordered on human. When the letter arrived informing him that a distant uncle had left him a property, a lake no one wanted, Daniel almost laughed. The town records described it as unusable. The locals called it dead water. No fish. No visitors. No value. It had once been a hopeful investment decades ago, but after repeated failed development attempts and rumors of contamination, people simply gave up. Taxes piled up. Buyers disappeared. The lake became a ghost. But Daniel had nothing else anchoring him. No job felt right. No city felt like home. So he packed what little they owned and drove his old truck through miles of barren countryside until the asphalt turned to gravel and the gravel to dirt. Lily sat quietly in the passenger seat clutching her sketchbook, while Rex rested in the back, alert but calm. When the lake first came into view, Lily pressed her small hand against the window, her breath fogging the glass. It wasn't beautiful in the way postcards promised. The water was gray and still. The dock had collapsed long ago. The cabin leaned like an old soldier who had fought too many battles. But something about the emptiness called to Daniel. It felt honest. It didn't pretend to be more than it was. The first weeks were brutal. The cabin roof leaked. The plumbing groaned like it resented being disturbed. Daniel spent long days repairing warped boards and reinforcing beams with the same steady focus he once used to clear buildings overseas. Lily stayed close, bundled in her red coat, drawing pictures of what she imagined the lake could become: blue water, bright fish, flowers along the banks. Rex patrolled tirelessly, his paws crunching in frost as if guarding them from unseen threats. The townspeople were polite but distant. At the general store, Daniel overheard whispers. That lake's cursed. Nothing grows there. He won't last the winter. He didn't blame them. The lake looked lifeless. Even the birds avoided it. But Lily didn't see a curse. She saw possibility. One afternoon, while Daniel was clearing debris near the shore, Lily wandered a little farther than usual with Rex trotting faithfully beside her. The reeds near the north edge were thicker, tangled in a mess of fallen branches. Rex suddenly froze, ears high, nose twitching. Then he barked, a sharp, focused sound Daniel hadn't heard since his service days. Daniel rushed toward them, heart pounding. He had learned long ago to trust that bark. Rex pawed at the ground near a cluster of rocks half hidden in mud. Lily stood there, eyes wide, holding something small in her mittened hand. It was a smooth, dark stone, but not like the others. It shimmered faintly, almost metallic. Daniel knelt, brushing away layers of damp soil. Beneath the surface, he found more stones, flat slabs arranged deliberately. Not random. Structured. He cleared more mud, revealing what looked like the corner of something man-made. Over the next few days, Daniel worked methodically. He borrowed tools from a skeptical neighbor and returned to the spot with Rex at his side. Lily insisted on helping, her small hands carrying away pebbles and sticks. What emerged slowly from the earth was the outline of an old spillway system, an engineered channel built decades earlier to regulate water flow. It had been buried under sediment and neglect. As Daniel studied it, memories from his tactical training surfaced. Angles. Patterns. Design. This wasn't accidental. Someone had built a controlled filtration structure. Which meant the lake wasn't naturally dead. It had been cut off. He spent evenings digging through county records online at the library in town. Buried in yellow documents, he found references to a planned eco-resort project 50 years earlier. The lake had originally been spring-fed, known for its clarity. Investors had begun construction on filtration gates and flow channels to expand it, but funding collapsed. Maintenance stopped. The channels clogged. Over time, the water stagnated. The lake hadn't died. It had been suffocated. Winter deepened, but Daniel felt something awaken inside him. A mission. He began clearing the old channels fully, unclogging debris with stubborn persistence. It was exhausting work. His hands blistered. His back ached. There were nights he lay awake questioning whether he was chasing a fantasy. But each morning, Lily brought him hot cocoa in a chipped mug and told him she dreamed of fish jumping again. Rex never left his side. Then, one morning in early spring, the sound came. It was faint at first, a trickle. Daniel stood near the spillway when he heard it, water moving where it hadn't moved in decades. He froze, listening. The channel he had cleared was working. Melted snow from higher ground was flowing through the reopened system, feeding the lake properly for the first time in years. Within weeks, the transformation began. The water's surface lost its oily stillness. It rippled. Birds returned cautiously at first, then in flocks. Lily shrieked with delight when she spotted the first small fish near the shallows. Even the reeds looked greener. Word spread quietly. A local fisherman stopped by, skeptical but curious. He cast a line one afternoon and caught a modest perch. By summer, more people visited. They brought folding chairs, canoes, hope. But the greatest secret of the lake revealed itself one golden evening when Lily and Rex ventured again to the North Shore. This time, Rex's bark was playful, excited. Lily ran back to Daniel breathless, tugging at his hand. In a shallow inlet formed by the restored flow, water bubbled up from beneath the earth, clear, cold, and constant. A natural spring, long buried and forgotten, had resurfaced fully. The lake was not just restored. It was renewed at its source. Daniel stood there with tears he didn't try to hide. For years, he had felt like that lake, cut off, stagnant, defined by loss. But like the buried spillway, his purpose had only been blocked, not destroyed. It took the faith of a child and the instinct of a loyal dog to uncover it. He began working with environmental groups to officially test and certify the water quality. The results were remarkable. The spring-fed system made the lake some of the cleanest freshwater in the county. Grants followed. Volunteers helped rebuild the dock. Daniel turned the old cabin into a small nature education center, teaching local kids about ecosystems and resilience. Lily planted wildflowers along the shore. Rex, older now, lay proudly beside the restored dock as children skipped stones across living water. The town stopped calling it Deadwater. They started calling it Mercer Lake. Daniel never sought recognition. He simply woke each day grateful for the chance to build instead of destroy, to nurture instead of fight. At night, He would sit on the porch watching the sunset paint the water gold while Lily leaned against him, her laughter light and free. He realized something profound. Sometimes what the world discards is not worthless, it is simply waiting for someone patient enough to listen. Before we reach the end of this story, I want to ask you something from the heart. If you've ever felt overlooked, unwanted, or stuck in a season of silence, comment the word renewed below. Let this be a reminder that your spring may just be buried, not gone. Years passed gently. The lake became a quiet symbol of second chances. Families picnicked where weeds once ruled. Fishermen told stories about the miracle spring. And Daniel found a new kind of brotherhood, not forged in combat, but in community. On the anniversary of their arrival, Daniel and Lily walked the same dirt path where they had first stood staring at a lifeless shore. The house was repaired now, standing straight and strong. The roof no longer sagged. The trees had filled out, framing the water like guardians. Rex walked slower, gray dusting his muzzle, but his eyes remained sharp. He paused at the north shore, as if remembering the first stone he had uncovered. Daniel knelt beside him, scratching behind his ears, gratitude swelling in his chest. Because the truth was simple and powerful, a lake nobody wanted had healed a man who thought he was beyond repair. If this story touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that broken things can live again, please like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories of hope reach someone who might desperately need them today. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the water shimmered with quiet life. Lily squeezed her father's hand. Rex rested at their feet. And Daniel understood that sometimes, the greatest inheritance isn't land or money. Sometimes, it's the chance to bring something forgotten back to life, and in doing so, save yourself. And Mercer Lake, once unwanted, flowed on, clear, patient, and alive.